Well, welcome to another episode of Satisfying Static. Last time we talked about a topic that one of my followers pitched, and we only got through the first one.
Because we're so good at this.
So we decided that that was fun, and we were going to do another one. I tried to do my best DJ Khaled voice. Another one.
God, stop.
So a funny story about that. I once played a card game with my ex and some friends, and one of the things was like, act like DJ Khaled for 10 seconds. Or no, it was 30 seconds.
Another one for 20 seconds.
Yeah, so it was 30 seconds, and it was right when Snapchat upgraded from doing the 30-second snap to the minute snap.
Oh.
So I was like, 30 seconds is as long as a Snapchat. Like, we'll use it that way. So, like, just hold the Snapchat towards me. And they started recording me, and I was like, DJ Khaled, another one. And then I, like, did one of these. And they recorded it for the full minute. And I'm like, this is such a long 30 seconds. And they were like, dying.
That's so funny. I love
they
that.
They were dying. They were like, and I was like, shit-faced. So I'm like, in the moment, I'm like, no, it's like 30 seconds. And they're like, no. And that was a terrible DJ Khaled.
I'm sure it's hilarious, and I hope someone has that video. Anyway, what's our next question?
I'm sure they do somewhere. Classic Disney love stories.
Oh, this one. Yeah, I was kind of curious about this one. Do you have classic Disney love stories?
I mean, we all have classic Disney love stories, right? Like, this is just talking about, like, our opinions on a classic Disney love story, right?
I mean, we can talk about whatever, honestly. I guess I was mostly curious, like, which classic Disney love stories to you are classic and which ones are classic to me, because we do have an age difference, so I was wondering if that mattered.
I think I am much more on the new age Disney side, so, like...
Kind of what I figured.
Like, well, and it depends on what you consider new age. So, like, Hercules.
Oh, I don't know if I would consider that new age, totally.
It's like Hercules and Meg, but that's not as far back as Lady and Tramp.
Right. And, like, I guess I would be like, okay, so, like, Hercules for me, yeah, that's definitely, like, a Disney classic. But I think for, like, classic Disney romances, like, for me, it's still very much, like, Beauty and the Beast, Cinderella, Snow White, like, those. Because those are the ones that, like, I grew up on.
I think one of my favorites, just overall, is New Age Rapunzel, like Tangled.
Oh, I did love Tangled, actually. That was a really good one. But yeah, so, like, because I'm more removed from those, I didn't really get to, like, I think enjoy... Like, I'm not a Disney adult, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, I have not continued my love of Disney after a certain age. Like, I'll go
dude,
back.
I'm such a Disney adult.
Okay, see, I thought so, because you wanted to go to Disneyland, and I've never been, and so I was like... oh yeah, like that would be interesting to see, but it's not something that like I need to do. You know what I mean?
No, I went to Disney World in 2019. I would go again every single year if they would let me. I drink the Disney Kool-Aid. I'm not the kind of Disney adult that's like, I don't have Mickey ears on my walls. There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
I just don't commit to Disney as a company in that way.
Right.
But I mean, yeah, and since Disney folded Marvel in, I've been even more of a Disney adult.
Yeah, I would say I'm definitely a Marvel adult.
Yeah, if we can say classic Disney love stories, I would argue Tony Stark and Pepper Potts is my
classic. I guess it is at this point, but
I think the original Iron Man came out like
forever ago
at this point.
Yeah, no, you're right, but it's weird to think about it that way.
I know. I feel old doing that.
I mean, I would love to hear other people's opinions, especially like just from what you grew up with. Because, like, I mean, I agree. I love that relationship. Like, Tony Stark's relationship with Pepper?
Yeah, Pepper Potts, yeah.
Is like the cutest, and I totally love that. Especially in the like later movies. But like, yeah, like I was saying, like for me, when you said classic Disney love story, immediately am thinking Disney princesses, which I think is super interesting because also that colored how I expected relationships to work as an adult.
Oh yeah. See, and I like the newer age princess roles of like Mulan for
Right,
obvious reasons.
right.
There was
And that
some gender bending. She was breaking social norms. Like,
I loved Mulan. Yeah. But I didn't feel but see like that's interesting because I didn't feel like Mulan was a love story. Like for me, Mulan was like this movie about a cool girl who did what she wanted to do no matter what anyone told her, and there happened to be some guy that was cute. Like that's how I saw that movie.
so this is fascinating. I agree. That's 100% how I saw that movie as well. It's also how I saw uh Rapunzel, Entangled, same way. Same
Same,
same
yeah,
thought process of
yeah, totally.
she wants to do this thing and love is like a secondary, and Frozen, new age Frozen even. There's an
Totally.
adventure to be had and love is the secondary thing.
Yeah.
And that is how I have tackled love in my life.
See, that's so
Where where like, career and ambition and everything else is first, and if love happens along the way, great.
damn, Disney has trained us well. Yeah, see, that's so interesting because I didn't like yes, I grew up with Mulan and like Hercules and stuff, and but like I was a little bit older at that point. So I loved those movies, but it wasn't like as formative in my like early years. So in my early years, I got the Disney princesses. So I 100%, which were 100% about love. Like those stories were you are going to be married to a man and whisked off to a castle, and that is the rest of your life. Like that was the whole thing. The whole point of Beauty and the Beast was her to saving the beast. And then like she gets this like amazing life at the end of it. So like for me, love has always been like and I'm not saying it's Disney's fault, it's probably a lot of things' fault, but love has always been like number one. Like that is the first thing and everything
Oh
else in
wow.
secondary to that. So like my job, friends, whatever, like all of that, like if my partner needs me or like something is going on, like I will 100% be all in on that. So that's really
That's
interesting.
that's fascinating. Yeah, so I didn't watch, I still have to this day have not seen a lot of the quote classic Disney movies. I've never seen the original Cinderella. I've never seen the original Beauty and the Beast. I've never seen, I think I've seen the original Little Mermaid maybe once.
Oh,
Um and like I never saw Beauty and the Tramp or Beauty and the Tramp, ha, Lady and the
like
Tramp.
yeah.
I never saw like Aristocats, like any of those like old
I
style animations.
yeah.
Just never saw those.
Oh yeah, see that's so interesting. Like I grew up on like the original 101 Dalmatians. So every like iteration since then has been like very weird for me.
Oh, I've seen the new age ones with the, I don't remember what that male actor's name is, and not Meg Ryan, but the British version of Meg Ryan.
I don't know who you're talking about, but
Oh my
okay.
god, I can't remember. It's the live action one where like they I think I'm confusing that actress with okay, so my brain has just done this thing where I mashed up Parent Trap
Okay.
and 101 Dalmatians live action, I think is what just happened because
Well, either way, I've already lost interest into who the actress is, so we can move on.
I was circling back though. I was gonna have you guess when the first Iron Man was released.
Ooh, 2005.
Close, 2008.
Damn. Oh, I was really close.
Oh,
Um,
I think Jolie Richardson is her name. Anyway, she does have short-ish hair that kind of looks like Meg Ryan-ish from the 90s.
okay. All
That's
right.
why. And Cruella was a goddamn masterpiece.
Cruella was a masterpiece. It is a masterpiece, 100%.
It
Um,
it it deserved the Oscar it got for costume. It was so good.
oh, absolutely. But yeah, so anyway, that's fascinating.
Yeah, so yeah, and that is very interesting. That's it kind of sculpted love in two different ways. I will say that Hercules especially gave me the complex of self-sacrifice for those that you love. Mulan did the same thing.
Oh, well, all hero movies. Yeah, I would say all of the Marvel movies probably did the same thing to you.
Right. So like my hero complex was bolstered by all that stuff. Like you're only as good as of a human as when you are when people aren't looking, and you're an even better human if you're doing things for those that you love without anybody looking at you.
Yeah, 100%. I think for me though, well, I don't know. My therapist probably has thoughts, so we can let her leave a comment. But um I think for me though, that was really shaped by like my love of comic books and like superheroes.
Mm.
So like I grew up with like a deep, deep love of like X-Men and like Batman and superheroes and stuff, and like that is very much the language around comic book culture, is that like to be the hero you have to like be a good person behind closed doors and like self-sacrifice, and like that's what makes you the main character of the story. So like I think for me that's what really shaped it, because I can't say like I have any hero, I anything like that from Disney movies. And
I
maybe the male character, but like I just really don't get that from Disney movies.
Part of my influence is video games as well, which is the same thing as like comic books. Like
Yeah.
the main character of a video game, and
Dude,
video games now you get to pick hero villain,
yeah.
and always I'm like, oh, hero. In Fable I picked hero. In Grand Theft Auto, I didn't follow the rules while you drove like crazy people would, but I didn't beat up the stripper on the street in that game.
Right,
I
right.
just I wasn't that person.
I hear you. Yeah, that's interesting, huh? Wow, media really shapes who we become as human beings, huh?
It does, but you fall down a dicey road that way, because then you get a lot of the video games cause children to be violent situation. And I grew up playing, shooting games all the time. My brother and I played them together. I had a small professional stint with the original Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, like when I was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
I never had more prone to violence for that.
Yeah, I think it's too generalizing and sweeping to say like, oh, video games cause this. I think with any human beings are complex, so like it's a lot of factors. Like you and I both grew up watching Disney movies, and we just had very, very different like experiences with that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it just really depends on like that plus all of the other factors around you.
I think that,
Like
I
if you're
think I think that's a
shooter,
good take.
yeah, like if you're playing shooter video games and your family, you live around people who like love guns and go around shooting all the time and are very like flippant about that, you're probably going to have a weird, very loose relationship with guns.
Yeah. Yeah, there was that shooting in oh my god, I can't remember what state it is now. They're trying the parents as well as the child.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I forgot.
Because they got him like a Christmas gift of a loaded gun at, 15 or however old he was.
And then ran.
Well, yeah, and then they were like, "No big deal, here, have it." And they had just had a conversation like a week earlier in the principal's office about this kid expressing that he wanted to harm his classmates. Like,
Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah.
yeah, and then they ran and there was a manhunt and everything else. God, was it like Florida? I feel like this is a Florida I don't know. I'm misremembering. But
But who knows? But yeah, I do remember that. I mean, we can get into a deeper conversation about people, but
yeah, that's true. That's true. Do you want to go to the next one, or do we have anything more to say about Disney?
What's the next one?
The next one is Would You Rather.
Oh shit. I forgot about that one. I don't know if I want to play Would You Rather on this episode. Maybe we should try the next one and
Yeah,
have.
Would You Rather is a long thing. The next one after that, Marvel vs. DC.
Oh, okay, we're already on track.
Yeah, we're doing great. So I have the worst time with this question.
Why?
Because my favorite superhero is the Green Arrow.
Right.
We know that. That is a DC character.
Right.
I also love The Flash. I love the Arrowverse on the CW, which is almost all canceled now. RIP. But as a whole, I like Marvel heroes more. So like
Yeah.
my favorite individual character, the Green Arrow, great. But my favorite overall company, as far as especially modern media, Marvel. I have not, like, since the Dark Knight series for DC, I have not cared about any of their movies. I have not cared about, and aside from that show, I have not cared about most of that stuff. Now, I've heard Titans is good. I haven't gotten to get into Titans. Um, I did get into Swamp Thing. I haven't finished it yet, but that was really good, and I'm sad that that was canceled. Um, but yeah, I just like I DC's movie universe can't hold a candle to Marvel's. And in a lot of
Totally.
ways that has shaped my love for Marvel. And I think a lot of people would agree with that. I think a lot of people like DC being a little darker and having edgier, superheroes and edgier villains, but like their inability to get that translated to the screen well has really hurt them, I think, in the last, decade.
Oh, for sure. No, I totally agree. That's something they've always struggled with movie wise. Like DC has never been good at translating their characters to film or TV. I felt like they kind of had a shot with Gotham. I felt like that was a pretty good show, but I don't know. It all
Gotham, I think I watched like 2 seasons and liked it, but it was also really slow pace. And I felt like the actors super carried that show. Like
for sure.
the guy who plays Penguin, impeccable.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that was really the only reason I was watching it. But so it's like that. I feel like it's always been like that with DC. Is they always go for like a big name or one good actor, and they expect that to carry the whole thing. And you're like, okay, but you can't have them on screen 100% of the time. But no, I hear you. I totally agree with you. And especially because like I grew up like a hardcore DC fan. I was never like a purist, you know what I mean? Like some people are
Yeah,
like, no, only DC or only Marvel.
right.
And I have a different kind of perspective because I grew up like in the comic books. Like I very much owned way too many comic books, like would go to the comic book store every Wednesday for new release day. Like I very much like lived in that comic book universe with them. And for for that aspect, I like DC better. I feel like DC Marvel has had their moments, but I feel like DC more consistently has had like more interesting storylines, more
Mm.
interesting conversations. DC tends to be more cerebral, so they deal more with like emotional issues or like emotional growth, whereas Marvel has always been very, very, very like present. And I think that's the piece that's winning it for them now, is that Marvel has always been on top of like cultural issues, political issues. Like you'll find a history of our politics throughout Marvel comics. Like if you read them, they touch on those issues all the time. And so I think just like as companies, when that had to translate into media like film, because we all stream everything nowadays, they have never been able, hasn't been able to stay relevant, because especially for a long time, I feel like this is kind of shifting, but for a long time people don't give a shit about emotional availability or learning how to be better emotionally, and that's what DC is giving, whereas Marvel is touching on things that are happening today, race issues, politics,
Mm.
like media. They pull in trending things, they pull in memes, like they try to stay very, very relevant. And so it's more appealing to more people. Whereas DC has always stuck to their roots, and it is just kind of killing them.
I think if DC translated that better to the big screen, though, you would have a better draw. Like,
I think they have an opportunity right now. And like we kind of talked about this on a different episode where we were talking about like dating shows.
oh yeah,
So we're gonna bring it back Too Hot to Handle for a second, but like I do. So like this is where I've been saying like I feel like there's a shift happening, because like look at reality TV. We've been so focused on like drama, trash, yelling, whatever. Like none of that is very healthy. And now like even the Kardashians are sitting down having conversations about like, hey, why are you reacting like this at me? Like I need you to talk to me about this. Like Too Hot to Handle is all about emotional growth, and those shows are doing okay. So I feel like there's a shift culturally happening where like if DC were to get the right people in the company right now, they do have an opportunity to really like take that market share back, but I just don't think they're going to do it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think they have a chance. And they so I don't know if you follow like the Ezra Miller stuff, but the guy that they cast to play Flash in their movies has been arrested twice in the last, you know, 3 months for assault.
Oh no, I haven't been following that, but huh,
Oh, it's
great.
bad. Yeah, it's bad. And he was supposed to have like his own Flash movie, and nobody really liked him compared to Grant Gustin from the shows anyway. But like, whatever.
Yeah, I didn't think.
I don't know. It's a great question. We don't know. None of us know, and none of us will never know. But I think they have an opportunity now to show how they're going to respond to Ezra and what he's done, and show, you know, quote, show their wokeness, I guess, and kind of show really what direction they're going to go in, or that they're willing to go in.
Yeah, that's valid. I don't think it's going to happen, but yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, one can hope. One can hope, because yeah, he wasn't even that good of a Flash. I mean, I didn't love the Justice League movie. I thought it was okay. I also
Again, like I don't. They just need to get more like relevant. They need to come more to like the times. I think they're just still so focused on like this character building and character growth that it's too hard to relate to a Justice League that still kind of feels like it's from the 60s. You know what I mean?
well, yeah, and I think, you know, the Avengers spent years building this huge cross movie event thing that
Yeah.
when all these individual pieces came together, it was like emotion provoking. Where like
Oh,
DC, it was like, oh yeah, cool. Ben Affleck got ripped for Batman. Now he's in another movie. That's cool. Momoa was great. We all love Momoa. Aquaman was great.
right.
Like he's like Momoa is by far backpacking the DC universe at this point. Like
Yeah, for real.
I will say that DC has done a good job about the Amber Heard backlash, because they've cut her scene in Aquaman 2 down to 10 minutes.
Really?
So she filmed this whole movie of Aquaman 2, and they've now cut her all the way down to 10
Wow.
minutes. And she might get cut
Wow.
all the way out by the end of it because it's in post production and they can just do that. Um,
Yeah.
and as the allegations mount against her, I would not be surprised if they did. But yeah. But so, I mean, they show that they can do something with Amber, like do something about Ezra. He can't throw chairs at fans because he wants to in a fucking Hawaii, okay?
Yeah, yeah. No, I hear you. I mean, whatever. They're all corporations at the end of the day. But in terms of characters, like I think for I will forever be a Batman stan for all of my days. I don't know
Yeah,
that I
no,
can
I
ever.
mean, Bruce Wayne's character development can't be, and Oliver Queen's character development into the Green Arrow. You can't not acknowledge how incredible those are.
Yeah, like it's hard to walk away from those characters. You're like so heavily ingrained in their like personal lives. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like I feel like is a little bit more removed. Like you get glimpses here and there to make them more human, but really it's about like them taking on the world.
Right.
And with DC, a lot of times it's like Batman battling his freaking demons, his mommy and daddy issues. You know, it's like about Catwoman towing the line between being like a hero and a villain, and like all of these like very like psychological things. That are very internal and don't necessarily require the outside world. And so I feel like they just have never done a good job of like making it relevant.
I wish comic books were more accessible, because now we're
They
six.
are.
Well,
They're all digital.
well, no, I know, but I mean, like now we're 60, 70 years into these things being out. That if I wanted to start from the very beginning and try and follow the
Oh,
canon
no.
of,
That everyone says this to me all the time. This is literally the same conversation I have every time I say I read comic books. That's not true because the comic books teach you as they go because they know that anyone can start picking up a comic book at any time. Like, they're made for children. Children are born at all times. They become of age to read at all times. So the comic books teach you and they'll re-explain things that have happened in the past. But also because of this, they restart storylines constantly. So like it doesn't really matter what you know because now it's a totally different world anyway.
Oh, well, and
So
I've heard that they like, you know, like Thor right now is a woman. They do things like that where they like update their storylines, but
while like I mean they do all kinds of stuff like that. So it's things like I haven't been reading comic books for several years now, and so I know if I wanted to start again, I would just have to go and start and like get caught up.
it just seems so overwhelming to me. I'm like the person that watches from season 1, episode 1, you know?
Yeah. See, like that's the hard thing about comic books, and I think that's why a lot of people don't get into them is because like it has been generations, and like there is no season one,
Right.
there is no episode. Like it just kind of starts wherever you pick it up.
Oh God. That sounds so
I
terrifying to me.
but like it's just like they like the nice thing about it is that the people who are writing it understand that. So they literally will explain past things to you and it'll come up again, like especially if it's relevant to the storyline. So they'll be like, "Hey, remember when like when Bane broke Batman's back? Yeah, that was in asterisk this issue."
Oh my
Like
God. Asterisk this issue. It happened here. That's so funny.
so but yeah, I mean, so it's not as intimidating as you think, and like a lot of things you don't need to know because they don't matter. So like the big things will be repeated or reminded or whatever. So
I think that's a good place to end this episode.
yeah,
Pick up
I
a
agree.
comic book and start reading in the middle of a story
Start.
because they'll remind you it's not the middle of a story.
Yeah, just start. It's always I okay, wait. I have a better piece of advice. There's like a new storyline every like let's say 6 to 12 issues. So if you come in at the beginning of a storyline, then you're already set.
Oh, there you go. So if you're interested in comic stuff, start at the beginning of a new series in 6 to 12 weeks, issues.
In 6 to talk to the guys at the comic book store. They will help you out. They're always phenomenal.
Okay, great. Thanks for listening, guys.
Until next time.